15 seconds, and the all-important to the moderator is stop. And please know, with apologies, that if you don't stop, will ask you to stop. And so we'll keep ourselves on time here. I think that's all we need to say right now. I think we're good to go. So we're going to start now in 1 second. Let the last few people sit down, and then we'll go live. So good evening and welcome. The League of Women Voters, this is the candidate forum for Mayor of Stockton. The League of Women Voters of San Joaquin County, the NAACP, Stockton Branch, and Delta College's multimedia, political science, and history programs are sponsoring this forum. My name is Julia Murphy, and I am honored to be tonight's forum moderator. We have two persons here who are going to be asking our questions. Representing the League of Women Voters, we have Daphne Shaw, and representing NAACP, we have Bobby Bivens. Thank you both for being here. First, I would ask if the candidates, just by name, would introduce yourselves, and then we will move forward with the process.
Good evening. My name is Michael Tubbs, Councilmember for District 6.
Just checking sound here. Check. Would you repeat that, please?
No problem. Good evening. My name is Michael Tubbs, Councilmember for District 6.
My name is Anthony Silva, and I'm Mayor of the City of Stockton.
Great, thank you. So we're going to start with opening statements, and each of you will have 1 minute, and we are starting with Councilman Tubbs. Please start. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Murphy. First of all, good evening. It says a lot that you're here given the rainy weather, and I know I forgot my umbrella, so it's good to see you all here. My name is Michael Tubbs, and like many of the young people in this audience, growing up in Stockton, some of Stockton's most troubled neighborhoods, success was always defined as leaving. So I graduated Franklin High School with a scholarship to Stanford. I thought I was leaving Stockton for good. But then at Stanford, while working at Google and working at the White House, I realized that Stockton's problems weren't unique to Stockton. That a lot of communities have issues with homelessness, poverty, and violent crime, but what other communities seem to do is have leadership that's able to rally and build coalitions to solve those things. So after my cousin was murdered, I decided to come back and run for office. And for the past 3.5 years, I've been the city councilman for District 6. In 3.5 years as a part-time councilman, we've made incredible strides. We have the first financial institution in District 6. We've opened a health clinic. We have a comprehensive trauma zone plan, and we're continuing to move forward. It's that same leadership that the entire city of Stockton needs, not just South Stockton, which is why I'm running for mayor today.
I was born and raised here in Stockton. I attended Stockton schools. I've lived on Kelly Drive, Fremont and Filbert Street, East Main, Madison, and Spanos Park East. I attended Village Oaks Elementary School, Lincoln High School, and here at San Joaquin Delta College, where I received my associate's degree. I was also captain of the swim team. I then graduated from Humphreys College with a Bachelor of Science in Community Studies, and in 2007, I graduated from Leadership Stockton. As a kid, I ran away from home more than a few times, and I learned that our system and our government, our way of life here is broken, and people slip through the cracks. I've worked for the City of Lodi at the Senior Center. I've taught Mommy and Me and Baby and Me swim lesson classes. I've served as a Health and Safety Director of the American Red Cross, President of the Boys and Girls Club of Stockton, President of the Stockton Unified School Board, and I'm the outgoing Chairman of the San Joaquin Council of Governments. I'm proud to have been a Delta College student and to have been endorsed by the Delta College Activities Club. And then, of course, last Saturday, I had the honor of working with the Delta environmental activists as we were picking up trash off of 8 Mile Road. Thank you.
Thank you both. So Daphne Shaw will have our first question for the candidates, and Mayor Silva, you will be responding first.
There are 2 Stockton City Charter revision proposals on the November ballot. Measure N, which among other changes provide for the election of city council members exclusively by district, and Measure O, which advises the process for adjusting compensation for mayor and council members, as well as makes other revisions to the city charter. Which of these provisions do you support or oppose, and why?
Thank you. Good question. When I was elected in 2012, the city was broken. This was a city in chaos, and one of the issues were our city charter, which is basically a gazillion-page document that governs the city and says how money can be spent and how decisions are made, just like the Constitution. It was broken, and so I immediately started a commission, one of the first mayors to do so, to update this. The citizens band together and they started making changes that they wanted, not any politicians, that the citizens of Stockton wanted. After that, the city council has fully adopted it, and so all the council members appointed are represented to that. I am for having 9 council districts in a city of 305,000 residents. We're the 13th largest city in the state of California, 81st in the entire country. Our city has so many people that I don't think 6 council members is enough to represent the entire city. So I think it should be more. So I'm in favor of adding 2 more plus the mayor. And as far as what was the other component of it?
Measure O, which revises the process for adjusting compensation for mayor.
Yeah, I think that's obvious. I'm the first mayor in Stockton's history for some reason. I started my term at a certain salary, and guess what? 2 years into my term, for the first time, a group of citizens that I've never met before, I've never seen, and they were appointed, and they decided to reduce my salary by $33,000 in the middle of my term, which is probably illegal and unconstitutional, but I haven't decided to fight that yet. So I think it should be fixed. Thank you.
In terms of Measure O, not only does it talk about the mayor's salary, but also deals with the reserve policy for city council. The city council, if you guys elected, will have to set a reserve policy so you don't go through bad decisions like guys in bankruptcy. So in addition to what the mayor mentioned, I think that's probably more important than one person's salary, which is why I support that measure. In terms of Measure N, actually at the council level, we decided not to put an additional number of districts on the ballot, so you guys won't be voting on that. We discussed that for 2 hours a couple months ago in the council meeting, but what will be on the ballot is actually district voting, which I think we all agree is a cornerstone of democracy and something Stockton should have had 30 years ago. So I think there's going to be a unanimous vote from the community to make sure we get district voting for district seats.
Thank you. Bobby Bivens will direct the next question to Councilman Tubbs first.
As mayor, how will you address the economic development, jobs, youth, housing, growth, and crime, especially as it relates to African Americans and people of color in the community? What actions will you take in these areas that will enhance the quality of life for all of our citizens?
In 1 minute and 30 seconds, what's my plan for jobs, education, and economic development for people of color in the entire city of Stockton? Well, the first thing is really strong partnership with the school districts. Lincoln Unified School District has a good model with their apprenticeship and vocational training programs. So working very closely with Stockton Unified and Lodi Unified and Manteca Unified to make sure those happen to start. Number 2, Stockton, 62% of all small businesses in Stockton employ 5 people or less, which means those businesses have room to grow. So as mayor and as working with the city staff, making sure we provide opportunities for entrepreneurs to expand their businesses and employ other folks in Stockton. But I think you can always talk about what you will do. I think it's more important to look at what you've done. So for the past 3.5 years, I was able to work with staff to put before the council a youth jobs program for the first time, where the city was able to allocate $100,000 to youth jobs. And as mayor, the action I will take is working with the business council and the philanthropic community to match that or double that. So we're able to provide more young people the same job training programs I was able to take advantage of as a student. And then finally, we have things called the San Joaquin Partnership, the Business Council, these agencies who are about economic development. And as mayor, you're supposed to attend those meetings and make sure you work with them and help steer the course in that way. So as mayor, I will definitely make sure you do that with the focus of making sure that minority and women-owned businesses always are at the table and we'll get a piece of the pie as well.
I think diversity is one of Stockton's greatest strengths. We have everybody, all religions, all races as part of our city, and yet folks today don't want to admit that there's still racism. I'm going to admit that racism still exists in our city and our country. You can turn on the TV and see it. What I'm tired of, people talk about programs and surveys that are sitting on shelves, getting all dusty, but nobody's adhering to them. Basically, when you graduate from Delta College or Pacific or Humphreys, guess what? You should have job opportunities. There is no reason why the Stockton Police Department and the Stockton Fire Department can't be hiring people that actually live in Stockton. Why do we have to keep going to Oakdale and Escalon and all these Timbuktu and all these crazy places? Please don't clap. It's time we start hiring people here so we can keep these nice $80,000 and $100,000 salaries here. And what we need for business, Mr. Bivens, plain and simple, if you're a minority owned business owner and you want to start a business, why isn't there startup grants for them? For people trying to restore former buildings and turn them into churches and nonprofits, we should have fee waivers. I don't believe in crazy fees. You guys know me, I don't believe in parking meters. I don't believe in taxing people and permitting them to death and feeding them to death. I remember I'd come in here to Delta College, that was crazy. You paid like $80 for the books, and then when I went to resell them at the end of the semester, I got like $10 back, so it wasn't even worth it. So I don't like those type of things. I like to actually help people and put people in business.
Thank you. I would like to remind the audience that please refrain from applause to give our candidates plenty of time to respond. Thank you. Daphne Shaw, you will have the next question and will first be directed to Mayor Silva.
Homelessness is a problem in Stockton as it is elsewhere. What steps should the city take to both help people and families who are homeless and to minimize public health and safety issues surrounding homelessness?
Okay, well, I think I've been on the forefront of leading the awareness for the homeless issue in Stockton. No other mayor has done it quite like me. I've spent the night alongside the homeless. My son, who's 12, has been there as well because I want to show them what happens when you're not playing Xbox and PlayStation 4, that there's kids that are actually living under the freeways. People will tell me there's 268 homeless folks in Stockton. That's a joke, and experts will tell me that. Here's the bottom line, is as mayor, I've put out porta potties there before, and they were full every week. I still have proposed at least until we can figure out housing for them, get them into housing, and yes, mental health folks, they're gonna need mental health services, drug and alcohol abuse counseling. We understand they all need services, but I can't go to counseling, I can't even go to school and then come back and be living under the freeway on Highway 4. I'm not gonna pay attention to anything I learn. We gotta make sure these folks have a bathroom. I'm proposing restrooms and once a week showers for them. That total cost for me is $12,000 a year. But the city comes back, the city officials, that is supporting this guy right here, and they come back and said, Mayor, for those same totals, it's $181,000 a year for those same two services. How does it get marked up that much by 1,000%? Something's wrong. It's an excuse. Anyone that says that we can't help the less fortunate and get them back on their feet and sort of help them to a point where it's helping Stockton, so now there's not graffiti on the street, and the worst part of it is the public safety. If we're not giving them a place to urinate and defecate, they're doing it on our streets, and they're doing it in the Delta, downtown waterfront, and it's disgusting, and it's a health and safety problem. We gotta do something about it now.
Thank you.
Well, if you talk to the experts, people who actually work on homelessness every day and not just in election years, they'll tell you they have showers, they have restrooms that are open and available to the homeless people. So that's a solution that's forthcoming. And I talking to fifth graders yesterday, I asked them, what will it take to end homelessness? I said, would it be a porta potty or restrooms? And they said, no, Councilman, it takes housing. I mean, that's why for the past year and a half, I've been talking about a housing first solution. The issue is that the city council can't do everything by itself. The county has its services. So as mayor, you have to be a leader and work for the county for solutions that actually work. As a city council person, I was able to work with my colleagues to allocate $250,000 from this year's budget to really address homelessness in whatever plan the county comes up with. Because as the question said, homelessness is not just a Stockton issue. It's a regional issue that requires regional collaboration and regional solutions. Number two, we also have to be creative. Other communities are doing things like tiny houses and micro apartments. Since March, I've been working with our development office and our building code folks to change our zoning code so if folks want to have tiny houses and micro apartments for homeless folk, that they're able to do so. It's going to take that out the box thinking beyond restrooms and beyond porta potties to really get homeless people into housing. They don't just need to use the bathroom, they need shelter and a place to live.
I'm going to respond. Then
No,
you can
excuse
respond.
me. I'm sorry. You could
I think it's important.
excuse me, Mayor Silva. At the end, during your closing statement, I think that would be the time to respond. Thank you. Thank you. So the next question is going to be posed by Bobby Bivens, and it will first go to Councilman Tubbs.
You are both elected officials in the city of Stockton. The city had to file bankruptcy. What have you done that was different from previous councils to ensure that the future and the financial base of the city of Stockton is on solid footing?
Well, for the past 2 years, I've been chair of the audit committee. So I spend 2 hours once a month with our auditor looking at our city's books regularly. But then number two, I've also been a leader in making sure we don't spend one-time money on ongoing costs. And the issue in Stockton is this: Stockton has a lot of needs. There's a lot of stuff we can spend money on that would all be justified and good. But the issue is, how do we make sure we can pay for these things past 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years? So with every spending decision, it may get on people's nerves, but I always say, let's run it through our long-term financial model. It's not perfect, it's not Miss Cleo, it can't predict the future, but it does allow us to make our spending decisions with some idea of what it will mean for our future. So I've done that as a council person, I'll continue to do that as mayor.
The question is, you both are elected officials in the city of Stockton. What have you done that is different than other councils to enhance?
I got it. Thank you. Well, I can agree with Councilmember Tubbs that this city council has done a much better job than prior councils with reining in the finances. My first day as mayor, there was a little note on my desk that said we were $2 billion in debt. We were the largest city in the country to be bankrupt in the United States. That's a problem. Why? Because they built a marina, they built an arena. They're still paying $3.5 million a year to an arena, but it's empty 207 days a year, and then the people are still getting their money. These type of bad decisions that have happened over time caused Stockton to go into bankruptcy with the same time as the economic downfall of the entire country. That created chaos for the city of Stockton. So what's been better? We have reserves for the first time, and the economy's better. Here's the truth. Property taxes are up for the first time. Okay, because your homes, your values are up at least 13 to 18%. So the city's getting more money. Sales tax is up right now. So more people are spending and shopping in Stockton. Those are a good thing. And we passed Measure A to allow us to hire the 100 officers back that the last council got rid of the 100 police officers. You never want to get rid of police officers. Security, safety, it's the thing that you never cut. They cut that. We put it back, and we have extra $29 million a year because of that, and our expenditures are down. Partly though, because we're not hiring the police officers fast enough, we're not recruiting them from other cities. But that's a salary savings. I call that residual savings that they're hiding in this account called Mission Critical that I think is a little bit shady. But basically, the finances are much better in Stockton than they were. I have to agree on that.
Thank you. Daphne Shaw, you have the next question, and we'll first go to Mayor Silva.
Yes. Measure M, a measure to fund library and recreation services in Stockton, is on the November ballot. Do you support or oppose Measure M, and why?
Is that for me?
Yes.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of caught in the middle on this one. Measure A was supposed to be a restricted tax. When I got elected, I was the first person that ran for office that told you the truth. I'm going to raise your taxes so we can hire the police back, and we did. There was a compromise there, and not only did we hire the police back, but unfortunately we had to have the extra revenue for bankruptcy relief, basically to pay off the creditors that we owed money to, and then to stabilize some of the city finances. All that money that we promised is not being spent exactly on what it's was promised to you that was going to be used for. So here comes another tax. Our sales tax, we're at 9%. If this goes through, it's at 9.25%. But if you look at the language of the last tax on Measure A, guess what? It says we're going to restore services, we're going to open libraries, we're going to reopen swimming pools. None of those things have been done. So now we're coming back with another tax saying, hey, we're going to do libraries. All right? I love libraries, I love books, but the schools already have plenty of libraries, and they're open to the public. Colleges have libraries, and so people maybe now should have mobile command centers, but guess what? There's a library in East Stockton that the city council voted to reopen, which is a huge win for East Stockton, the Fair Oaks Library, and guess what? Even though the council voted to have it open, and we directed the city manager to do it, and we showed him where the money was, it still hasn't been done. So don't think that the people in here that we call the shots, there's some people that don't live in Stockton, they live in Lodi, they live in Sacramento, and they call the real shots around here.
I find it ironic you want to be mayor of the city where you don't actually call the shots. In terms of Measure M, again, it's another example of if we care about recreation services, if we care about libraries, if we care about after school programs, there's going to be increased revenue to do it. And that's why I'm happy Measure M is on the ballot, and I'm going to vote yes for it. Unlike Measure A, it's a restricted tax, which means it needs 66% to pass, which is a high threshold, which is why I've been working with that committee and walking and going out and making sure people know it's important. And harkening back to the previous question, I find it ironic the mayor mentioned the reserve policy in Measure A and B, because if you read the record or look at previous council meetings, he actually was against those things which now are good for the city and now reflect how good we're doing financially. He voted against our reserve policy during our budget session last year, and he put a competing measure against Measure A and B that would have not increased police services, would have bankrupted the city, would have created some sort of shadow government. So I think as voters, it's important to not just listen today, but do research and figure out why the congressman, the assembly person, the majority of the council, the majority of board of supervisors, school board members, and the majority of voters on June 7th voted for a particular person to be mayor. Those are the people in the meetings, those are people doing the work, and they know what's required to move something forward.
Thank you. Bobby Bivens has the next question, and we'll first go to Councilmember Tubbs.
We all recognize that the city has gone through some adverse situations. In light of the negative publicity, what will you do as mayor to attract African American and other businesses to our community that pay living wage jobs?
Well, Stockton's in a very special moment now. Given the prices in Silicon Valley and given our location, we are primed for people to come in and invest. But what it takes is an invitation in the face. So as mayor, one of the biggest powers you have is the ability to be an ambassador for the city and to use the bully pulpit. There's people I've been talking to already in San Francisco and other places that are looking to Stockton as a place to open and one of the warehouses downtown and things of that sort. So as a mayor, it would require working with the council to figure out what's a good incentive package. How do we incentivize to make it attractive for folks to come to Stockton and open their business and things of that sort. So yeah, Mr. Bivens, that's what it will take as the mayor, is being an ambassador, working with the San Joaquin Business Council and the partnership, and really figuring out how do we market Stockton's assets. We have two good freeways. We're an hour away from Sacramento, an hour and a half from Silicon Valley. We have a port that's booming. We have a Delta. We have all these assets that other cities would die for. It's time to leverage those assets to create real economic gains for our people.
I think going back to the question, the excuses have to stop of why people aren't supporting minority-owned businesses, especially African Americans. I think that the African American population, as well as the Asian, the Hispanics, the Indians, they all know that I'm the people's mayor and I represent everybody, and I want them to go in business and make money, because if they're making money, they're hiring employees. Those employees are happy. Now they're shopping at Food for Less, San Miguel Rancho, they're shopping at the mall, they're spending their money in Stockton, giving us taxes and that revenue so we can open more parks and expand services. So that's important. But people are always talk, right? It doesn't get done. The verbiage that you're hearing is something I hear every 4 years or every 2 years when somebody runs for office. There's a difference between action and words. We are the 5th hottest housing market right now in California. So that means the values of our house is up. That's good. We're out of the foreclosure disaster that we were in. So Councilmember Tubbs is right. People do want to invest here. Silicon Valley, they're tapped out. It's expensive. You can't even barely rent a place over there for less than $2,500. So here in Stockton, it's going to be the next Silicon Valley. I've been in contact with plenty of folks that happen to be minority-owned business owners who want to turn something like the downtown waterfront into something that looks like the San Antonio Riverwalk or the Santa Monica Pier. People will look at it and say, well, it can't be done. It can't be done. Well, people said that too when they were going to build an arena and a marina and a ballpark and all this stuff. We didn't even have the money to build those things. But this would be privately financed.
Thank you. Thank you both. That is the end of our questions from the panelists. This is now the opportunity for you both to have your closing statements. You'll have 1.5 minutes each, with Mayor Silva starting.
Well, I think that crime is number one in everyone's mind right now. No matter where you live, what neighborhood you live in, you're thinking about crime. Are you safe? A 3-year-old girl was accidentally killed, a week ago. Then her uncle. We're at 41 homicides. Nothing like 2011 when we had 58 homicides. 2012. When we had 71 homicides. So things, we never want them to go back the way they were ever again. But Stockton is not perfect. Are we a perfect city? No. We got to do something about these shootings. We cannot anticipate where someone's going to pick up a gun and use it, right? Because it's against the Constitution. We can't go home to home and seize weapons, okay? But what we can do is make our city a little bit safer. Now that we've put out the fires with bankruptcy, now that the finances are better with Stockton, it's time to have a laser focus on quality of life. What type of city do you want to live in? You want to live in a city where people can illegally dump trash and do graffiti and people are disrespectful. If we want to get a handle on the security and safety of Stockton, we got to have more than 287 security surveillance cameras. We need to double that to 600. We need to have police officers that actually grew up in Stockton, in Conway, in Sierra Vista, on Wilson Way, on Charter Way, on 8th Street, in all the neighborhoods of Stockton. So if they're just not the police, now they're your neighbor too. So I want to fill those ranks. We have the funding to get back to 485 police officers. And in addition, I want to attack the hot spots with police annexes and services, midnight basketball, a lot of prevention programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Well, I'm fundamentally convinced that Stockton's best days are ahead. Just like any other community of more than 50 people, crime is an issue. Homelessness is an issue. Poverty is an issue. Unemployment is an issue. And we can spend all day talking about the issues of Stockton, but for Stockton to really reach its potential, it's going to take working towards solutions. The way our government is structured, the mayor is a leader, the mayor is a convener, but the mayor can't do everything by himself, and that's why it's important to have a vision, but also to have the human skills to build partnerships to address pressing problems. When I was elected 3.5 years ago, South Stockton is not perfect now, but even back then it was the worst. People were saying there's never been a bank here, they were saying New Grand State can't be closed, they were saying no one here works together, and as a part-time council member over the past 3.5 years, we've made incredible strides. Like I mentioned in the opening, there's now a bank that's open. New Grand State Liquor Market, a cancer in the community for many years, is now closed. The Dorothy Jones Health Clinic is now open, and we got the University of Pacific and a coalition of nonprofits to agree on a strategy over the next 20 years to improve South Stockton. But stuff like that doesn't just happen. It takes leadership. It takes someone who's going to roll up their sleeves, sit in the meetings, and figure out how do we get it done. And that's what Stockton deserves. There's no use in having all these assets. There's no use in celebrating our diversity. There's no use in talking about what great a town we are if we aren't moving forward like other communities are doing. And that's why I'm so excited to be running for mayor, and I appreciate your vote on November 8th.
Thank you. Thank you. Before we acknowledge our participants this evening, please, I want to remind you of something. I want to remind you that the deadline for registering to vote is October 24th. It's easy to do it. You can go online to the Secretary of State website, which is sos.ca.gov. You need a California's driver's license or California ID, or know the 4 last digits of your social security number. If you don't want to do that, we also have paper registrations available in Danner Hall here at Delta College. Remember, if you've moved, you've changed your name, or you want to change your party affiliation, you have to re-register. And now, please, would you please help me thanking our panelists, Bobby Bivens and we have a few more people to thank, so if you'd hold on for 1 second, I'd like to thank Mayor Anthony Silva, Councilman Michael Tubbs. I want to thank also the students you see and you don't see, because they have made a huge difference in the work in putting this streamlining, so we want to thank you. We also want to thank our faculty. And we want to thank you, the audience, for your graciousness today. And remember, please go out and vote. Now please thank our panelists.